Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. JUND Bros, we are so back. This deck is great. This is something we've been working on in Discord for the past couple of days. About 2 days ago, Greaseball and Riley came up with this idea. I played it yesterday. I won 5 games in a row out of 5 games played. And while I was sleeping last night, Riley went and played 25 games straight with this deck, won 24 of them, and got rank 1. And I am not exaggerating. This deck seems to be the real deal. Of course, that's just initial results against arena gamers, still a relatively small sample size, but this is a powerful deck, and I was questioning like some of the card choices in this deck, and I mean, I'm not questioning anymore if you can get rank 1 with it. Also, it's the first day of the season, so that's why he was able to get rank 1 so relatively easily. And that's why we'll be plat in the video, because I've played 5 whole games with this deck yesterday, and that's it for the season for me. So let's talk about the deck and talk about the deck construction and why this deck is popping up all of a sudden after JUND was really bad in MH3. So unlike pre-MH3 JUND, we are a Lurrus deck, and we're playing the classic Lurrus package, including Mishra's Bauble, and we are also playing the hyper-efficient threats from Modern Horizons 3, being Nethergoyf and Amptraptor. We also get to play the classic Delirium package with Dragon's Rage Channeler, and we get to play the classic interaction Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Inquisition of Kozilek, and Once Upon a Time. This enables Delirium really, really well because we have 2 of those cards that are instants and 2 of them that are sorceries. I think I forgot to mention Thoughtseize instantly, so that's actually 3 instants and 2 sorceries out of the pile. Anyway, it's really easy to hit the Delirium between all of these 1-mana cards. This is a 0-mana card. This is a 0-mana card. Without a card like Malevolent Rumble, we're still hitting Delirium really, really consistently just by dumping all of these cheap cards into our graveyard. And what's really awesome is on top of these already busted cards, we got some new cards from Duskborn that come with card types, which is Enchantment Creature and Artifact Creature, which also helps with Delirium, but they really filled a slot in the deck that was missing before. So when we were going over spoilers for Duskborn, and I was given my ratings, I put Fear of Missing Out as either my number 1 or 2 anticipated card for the set, and I said this card is awesome because it's going to allow us to build a non-energy red aggro deck again. We're going to be able to put together an aggro deck, and we're not going to feel obliged to include the energy package because we could do Delirium instead. We could do something different. This card is legitimately powerful, and it looks like this is the missing piece for JUND because a lot of the good JUND threats like Nethergoyf and Dragon's Rage Channeler are already asking you to do Delirium or something close to Delirium. So this card is a absolute slam dunk, and it's really been the missing piece in the deck. I love how easy it is to hit Delirium in this deck. It's very easy to get yourself a double attack step with your Nethergoyf. Keep in mind that second attack step, you can untap any creature you control, so you're going to untap your biggest thing, which is going to be the Nethergoyf. It might be a 5/6, that's 5 extra damage. Or you'll untap your Dragon's Rage Channeler because it has flying and evasion, and you know it's not going to get blocked, and that's 3 points of extra reach, essentially a lightning bolt to the face. And I want to point out the first line of text on this card. When it enters, draw a card, then discard a card. The draw a card part isn't an if. Like, I've been hell-bent on this deck drawing a FOMO and just drawing a card off of it. It's awesome. And the draw discard also helps you enable Delirium, which is absolutely fantastic. The other new card that I want to mention is Patchwork Beastie. Not the most powerful card in the deck. In fact, it's probably the least powerful, but it does several things that are really key. First of all, it comes with a card type for Delirium, which is awesome. It's both an artifact and a creature. It naturally enables a Delirium just by milling things, just like Dragon's Rage Channeler does. You don't have to jump through a hoop for the mill on this card. It's just 1 card per turn consistently, and it's just a 1-mana 3/3. It, of course, can't attack or block until we get Delirium, but that is going to happen within the first 2 turns of the game pretty much every time. This guy is going to help enable his own Delirium, so I have not had any issues with this guy just not being able to attack or block. And if you draw multiples of it without Delirium, it's just going to get you Delirium really quickly. So this card's been awesome. It's essentially been a 1-mana 3/3 that helps enable our game plan. We're playing Pyroclasm in the sideboard if you see, so being 3 toughness is actually a really big deal in this deck. And then lastly, not a new card, but an MH3 card, Arena of Glory. I was doubting 4 copies of Arena of Glory when I first saw the deck list, and when I was playing yesterday by myself, I only had 2 copies in, because I was just really doubting. I did not think that it was actually that good, and it was just the testing thing that people were trying to play with 4 copies of Arena. But no, this card is pretty legit. Every time I drew it and a FOMO, we got to do something absolutely ridiculous because it can give Fear of Missing Out haste, which enables some of your most aggressive and degenerate lines that you could possibly take with the deck. It can also haste up your other creatures like Dragon's Rage Channeler, Bowmaster, Antraptor, or Lurrus. Sadly, it can't haste up your 1 drops that aren't red like Nethergoyf or the Beastie, but it is still very, very strong, and giving Fear of Missing Out haste is absolutely crazy, and it is what enables your deck to get some very, very fast kills. Deck used to have Kroxa as well, ended up cutting it, but this is also very good to haste the Titans like Flager Kroxa if you do choose to build the deck that way. Mana base is a little sketchy otherwise, though. I think we're on 18 lands. I was on 17 yesterday, which is acceptable with Once Upon a Time plus Bauble, but you just need to consider that these are not black sources, nor is this. So we're only on 13 black sources, which is really light. I think when I first saw the list, it only had 10 or 11, and I was like, guys, you could add more. You're going to run into the bad end of variance eventually. So it is a little sketchy on the mana base, especially with these 4 Arena of Glories that definitely can enter tapped sometimes. But it has worked out more often than not. I was doubting this mana base at first. It does seem to be very, very good now that we're actually here. Onto the sideboard. Sideboard's tech to beat 2 decks, right? We have 4 copies of Pyroclasm to beat Energy, and this card has been absolutely great against Energy. This is essentially a one-sided board wipe. If we have Delirium, the only things in our deck it's killing are Amtraptor and Bowmaster, so we just need to be a little careful playing around that. But all of our other really big, really impactful threats are going to survive the Pyroclasm, which is awesome. We have Roiling Vortex here to beat Show and Tell or any other combo deck that is playing free spells. It's a very strong card that says anytime somebody casts a spell without paying mana, this deals 5 damage to that player. Keep in mind, it's going to hurt you when you cast a Bauble, when you cast an Amtraptor, but that is a small price to pay. Generally, you're only siding this in against decks that are not pressuring your life total, so you actually don't mind taking the 5 damage. It's just something to consider, just in case you are like shocking and fetching and knocking yourself very low. Don't forget about that. We have Duress because when I play against combo decks, I do like to bring out all of my removal spells if possible. So this is going to come in against Show and Tell and any sort of combo deck. The sideboard, as I saw it, as I saw the other guys playing it, was like very pointed at specific combo decks. There are combo decks other than Show and Tell in the format, and I do want to have extra discard spells to be able to hit them. I do want to be able to Duress the One Ring out of any sort of deck that's playing it. We have 2 copies of Haywire Might as well. This is good in several different matchups, so it's great. Some of the guys are saying pick your poison instead. I do like the fact that this enables Delirium really well by being an artifact creature and putting itself into the bin, so I'm going to keep playing Haywire Might. It's also really good against like energy, just because it does gain you that 2 life incidentally. That is something that helps, and I will sideboard this in against energy because Goblin Bombardment, Static Prison are both like very, very good targets for the Haywire Might. And lastly, we have 2 copies of Unlicensed Hearse. There's the new Ghost Gun. I forget exactly what it's called. Ghost Vacuum that you can play instead in this slot. I haven't crafted it yet, honestly, so I'm going to stick to old reliable Hearse. I do think Hearse is like really good in this deck just because the crew potential to be a late game threat in case your board gets wiped is really, really strong. Like you're playing against blue-black, they Toxic Deluge, and I'm like, okay, I untap, I play my Beastie, I crew the Hearse, I swing at you for 15. You dead? So I'm going to stick with Hearse, but if you want to play with the Ghost Vacuum, go ahead and do it. Other than that, it's tough to make too many changes to the sideboard because this sort of is a 2 deck format. You do need to put a lot of respect on energy if you are going to be a creature deck that is not energy. So that's why the 4 Pyroclasms are here, and they really can't leave. Same with the 4 Roiling Vortexes and like additional hand hate. I really don't think you can have less than 6 sideboard cards against Show and Tell. We only have 6 sideboard cards against Show and Tell. I'm famous for having like 10 to 14 cards for Show and Tell in some decks. That's how I roll. But I do think this deck is pretty good, especially for like a day 2 or what is it, day 3 now draft. Like this is awesome. The deck is only going to continue to get refined from here. I am absolutely open to suggestions for the deck. In fact, if you have suggestions, get in the Discord server, get cooking. There's a thread for this deck going on right now, and you can feel free to suggest whatever you want. There's been a lot of suggestions for other cards that we can run in. Like I want to try running Deathrite Shaman. People want to try Jet Collector. You could change up the interaction suite. You could change up the sideboard. You could try playing Kroxa again. So many ways that you could take this deck, so I'm really happy. Oh, you could try Surveillance too. I tried a Surveillance yesterday. It was terrible. Don't like try to play a Surveillance in your deck that's also struggling to fit Arena of Glory into the mana base. All right, that's enough yapping for me. Let's go ahead and get to the gameplay. All right, game one with JUND. We got a really nice hand here that is a nice mix of creatures and interaction, and we have Once Upon a Time to find the second land that this hand would like to have. Let's go ahead and keep this. Tip with Once Upon a Time, in case you're new to casting it, is that you do want to wait as late as possible to cast it. I know a lot of arena gamers would shoot off right now as soon as they get priority, but we should wait until our draw step to see exactly what we're going to be drawing, just to get a little bit more information. Because like if I draw second land, for example, I might not want to hit a land off of Once Upon a Time. But since I'm going to like untap and cast another Glyph here, let's go ahead and grab a land here. Arena of Glory is very good in this deck, but we have a bit of a color problem here where I need to have all of my colors in play. I need green for this, black for this. So if I fetch green, black, my red land's going to enter untapped. So I'm going to grab the Blood Crypt here. Grab Blood Crypt, and then we're going to go ahead and get a green black, and we're going to put Bestie into play here. I'm going to call him Bestie. And then Bestie is going to get milling some cards. And then hopefully we can get Delirium next turn or the turn after. This guy does not always get to attack turn 2, of course, but usually attacks pretty shortly after that. Alright, and we got Sam combo, not too common on ladder. Let's go ahead and mill a card. And then here we're just going to play another Go Fatal Push, and we're going to get the pressure on. With the Blood Crypt they know about, another Go Fatal Push. No Delirium yet, of course, but we're working on it. We can use Fear of Missing Out here to enable the Delirium, hopefully. We need to draw another card type, because we've actually only seen instants and lands so far. Alright, Wild Growth Walker. Oh, they're playing Sam and Amalia combo in the same deck. I saw someone else theory crafting this a while ago. It's interesting. You play like Sam and Amalia together, play Court of Calling, you know, all sorts of stuff to tutor it up. Alright, let's go ahead and mill a card here. We milled a sorcery, that's great. And then we can go ahead and discard the enchantment to the enchantment over here, so that's really good. We'll keep this fetch land up so that we can Fatal Push on their turn if they find a combo piece. Discard enchantment here. Oh, I might want to actually just throw another Bestie down. Let's attack them for a bunch. Let me think, actually. Yeah, I don't want to throw another Bestie down because they are a combo deck that can win out of nowhere. Just in case they do have the card that beats me, I'm going to want to be able to Fatal Push it. Like if Amalia gets put on the stack here, I need to be able to push this Wild Growth Walker. And we're going to have enough cards to kill with next turn no matter what, I think. Well, not quite a kill next turn if they have all of their blockers still. Yeah, I'm actually going to save this push just in case. Let me think. If I kill Wild Growth Walker here, we're going to get 2 combats, but they're going to get 2 chump blocks with the Young Wolf. So let's just go to their turn. Do I want to fetch here? I don't have a Surveil land in the deck anymore. But I think fetching here is probably fine. Head fetch here. Maybe we could have gotten another green source so that we could play Bestie and Once Upon a Time. Alright, let's go ahead and go to combat here. With a bolt and a push, can we force through lethal? I think we need to try too hard to force through lethal is the thing. Let's untap our Goyf. We're going to get 2 combats with him. Right, and they can do a bunch of chumping here. If they go to 3 life or less, we can bolt them up top, of course. If they try to like multi-block our FOMO, then we can also mess with that. What are we doing here? What are we doing, opponent? We're going to be courting for 2? Okay, they might be trying to hit Amalia here. I'm going to go ahead and let the Amalia hit the battlefield, of course. And then we'll just like shoot Wild Growth Walker or Amalia in response. Or they let Sam hit the battlefield. Do they have a cat in the graveyard? No, not quite. Okay, so I guess we let the damage go through here, right? Actually, what we can do to guarantee lethal here... we can let damage go through first, I guess, so I can demonstrate the point a little bit better, but they're going to be at 4. And then what we're going to do here is... we're just going to shoot both of their cards. I actually should have shot Sam before they got the food, but they have no mana available, so it doesn't matter here. And then we force through lethal, because we're going to be attacking with 6 power. I get a second combat. Cool. Alright, so against this combo deck, we're going to definitely want the hearses, and the pyroclasms are also going to be pretty good, and then we go ahead and take out the discard spells. I do like the idea of having discard against a combo deck, though. However, pyroclasm does seem pretty great. Is this the correct configuration, guys? What we think? Hearse is definitely going to be great here. I think this is good. I'm just questioning, do I still want, like, the Inquisition of Kozilek? Just to have a little bit more interaction against the combo deck. I think we're going to be fine here, but I am questioning my sideboarding just a little bit. All right, we got a Pyroclasm hand, so let's go ahead and keep that. My opponent is going to be going first, so if they're interested in just throwing creatures onto the battlefield, then I will just be careful with playing these DRCs and just play them after the Pyroclasm. That's a Young Wolf going to go out early. I think I can go ahead and just fetch a tapped land here and maybe Pyroclasm next turn. Maybe we could do Fear of Missing Out into Pyroclasm if we don't think our opponent's going to go all too fast with the comboing. We will wait on the Pyroclasm if they're not going to play more cards. Alright, that's cool. Let's just go ahead and get a tapped green-black source. Alright, another Pyro, sure. I think I might actually be able to discard that extra Pyro. Am I really going to need 2? No, right? I think 1 is plenty. Let's get our Delirium going. And that will eat a Fatal Push, sure. That's fine by me. We didn't have Delirium ready yet. We do have Delirium now, because we got Enchantment Creature into the bin, so if my opponent doesn't play out anything too crazy, we can just go double DRC, and then Pyroclasm the turn after. Alright, there's a Cauldron Familiar, sure. Anything else? Nope, not yet. Yeah, so let's go ahead and double DRC here. Play 1, and then 2, and then the turn after, we're probably going to do Pyro plus Ampdrafter. And even if they don't play anything else out onto the board, we'll still just Pyro what they have, I think. Or do I want to Pyro what they have? It's not like this Cauldron Familiar is killing me, and the Young Wolf's just going to get bigger. Also, they want a Cauldron Familiar in their graveyard to start their combo. Ha! Shroud. Well, I don't care about that. Pyroclasm doesn't, at least. So let's go ahead and Pyro the board. And what's really cool is we can leave... Oh, I should have fetched first. -1. I was gonna say we can leave a certain card on top for Ampdrafter to hit, but I screwed up. I needed to fetch first. My opponent's thinking about whether or not they could Safekeeper. They cannot, unfortunately. Yeah, because I have a mischance with Ampdrafter now. Ampdrafter can hit Fatal Push. Oh, actually, Young Wolf is coming back. Never mind, I don't have a mischance. Aha. I hit them for 6 in the air. I'm just going to fetch a basic here for life total concerns. This deck is really painful on your own life total if you haven't noticed. I'm at 11. And how many Thought Seizes have I cast this game? 0? Alright, Ampdrafter here. Any hit in the deck is fine. And that is a bestie, ready to attack next turn. Alright, your turn, opponent. Can they combo out of nowhere? If they hit Sam plus Sack Outlet, is that enough? They need, like, land, Sam, and 2 mana Sack Outlet, I think. And then they can get going with Cauldron Familiar. And if not, we have a pretty good chance of killing them. There's your 2 mana Sack Outlet, by the way. I will go ahead and Pyroclasm this board. Even though it kills my Ampdrafter, I actually don't care. Bestie will be milling me. I think you always say yes to Bestie. I don't know a situation where I would say no other than, like, playing against a mill deck. Just in case there's graveyard hate, like a hearse that comes from our opponent. So yeah, let's go ahead and Pyro the board here. And then I should just have lethal, right? Because I can bolt face. They could sack this to Bartholome, but then he still doesn't get big enough to survive the Pyro. Helpful drawing 3 pyroclasms against a creature deck, of course. Another bolt on top sounds good to me, right? Can't argue with that. And then let's attack you for 9. Have a bolt. Nice, game 1. All right, game 2, we're going to be on the play. It is another Luris deck here. This seems like a really good hand to me. We have a really good mix of threats and interactions, and we have Once Upon a Time to find the second land here, so let's go ahead and keep it. And then we're going to Once Upon a Time immediately, because the next thing I want to do is like cast it away for a Bobble or an Inquisition here. And we are going to take the second land, like I said. Let's get the green source in case we need it. And then let's just think about our turn. Do we want to lead with Inquisition of Kozilek? I think we do, because Goyf might die to like a bolt effect for right now. Yeah, because I can only put one more card type into the bin. So let's go ahead and lead with Bauble and Inquisition together. And then next turn, Goyf will be big enough to survive through anything. It is indeed a frog deck. We love frogs, don't we, folks? So let's go ahead and take one of the frogs here. We're probably going to bolt Tamiyo on site, and that other frog, we will figure it out. I think we're going to play the beatdown in this role, especially when we're going first. Also, one small thing, I think I should have bobbled them before I discarded just to get a little bit more info on what's going on. Because if they had a different card on top of their deck, it might have changed my decision with the Inquisition of Kozilek. And we get Delirium if we get a land in the bin. So we're very close on FOMO Delirium. But we're not there yet. If there's a fetch land on top of our library, then we do have it. In that case, I will play FOMO first, but since we don't have the Delirium, I'm going to double spell. I was going to kill Tamiyo, but I think I just want to get 2 creatures on the board. No, wait, no! Arena Auto Tapper screwed me. I wanted to play Bestie. It's fine. Arena Auto Tapper screwed me. I wasn't paying attention because I was talking for the video, but I should have manually tapped Overgrown Tomb to cast the Bestie. It tapped the Overgrown Tomb to cast Goyf for whatever reason. That's fine. So my opponent is going to go ahead and Brainstorm Shuffle. The only cards we need about in their hand is the Frog and the 2 Surveillance. We could assume the Surveillance are going away here. So they have a Frog that is going to hit the battlefield soon, and we're just going to have to race that Frog. Next turn, we can play both of our threats out here, and then hopefully hit Delirium very soon. Okay, that's another card where I say hopefully we can hit Delirium very soon for it. Let's go ahead and play the Bestie, because this is going to automatically enable Delirium. Actually, yeah, we get Delirium right here, because we get to loot away our creature. Nice, nice. And another Goyf. It's one of the best cards that we could draw. We just want big stupids right now. Now, if my opponent plays a Frog, I do need to be careful about attacking, because what they could do is discard their whole hand. It would be a little crazy, but it would make sense for them to discard their whole hand to defend against the Nether Goyf and just stonewall me for the rest of the game. But instead, they're going to Fatal Push my FOMO, because that's a very crazy strong card. Let's go ahead and take action here. Cool, that's, again, one of the best cards that we could draw. So let's go ahead and attack our opponent for a bunch. Play a Goyf. Surprised they didn't play Frog and try to block with it, but at the same time, they can't, like, just pretend I don't have a Fatal Push. There's always the chance I have removal for the Frog and that I could blow them out really, really bad. Before I drew Fatal Push, yes, Frog would have beaten me. Now if they try to jam Frog here, we just push it. They play their own Goyf. I think we're still going to push it. Ah, Frog. Which one would I rather Fatal Push? Since they only have 1 card in hand, I'd rather push the Goyf and get them in chump block mode. Yeah, they're just going to concede because they're going to go to 2 here. Have to chump block. I can escape the Goyf. Nothing too crazy for them. So against Dimir, Pyro is not good against them, but what is good is the Graveyard Hate. And what's not good against the Bowmaster's deck is Bauble. So I think I like to sideboard like this, and I'm thinking maybe we could bring in 1 Might too. And then we can sideboard it something like this. Trying to think if there's something else that I would like to include here. Yeah, I think that's it here. If we had perhaps extra copies of Hearse, I've seen some of the other guys that were playing the deck were playing Ghost Vacuum and they're playing like 3 or 4 copies of it. If we had that many copies, sure, I'd bring them all in because this is a deck that does really leverage its graveyard. But as is, this is the best sideboarding we could do. You could maybe bring in the second Haywire Mite as a counter sideboard card, like to hit their unlicensed curses, but this deck has a variety of things it can do to attack your graveyard. Sometimes they'll play Cling to Dust or, instants and sorceries that exile your graveyard, not necessarily permanents. All right, we got the Goyf going here again. Let's do it. I think I might want to lead with Inquisition, though. Again. Think about it.
Oh no!
So I would love to play Raptor next turn to be sure it resolves. This is interesting to think about. Okay, cool. A push. I think that makes me pretty happy to just lead with this Goyf here. Let's see what's on top of their deck. A push. Okay, so it's just gonna kill my Goyf. Great. We would just be trading 1 mana for 1 mana. Is that bad? Not really. I could also just Inquisition them. I could also just shoot the Tameo to make sure they don't get clues out of this. In fact, I think that is what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to shoot Tameo. And then next turn we can do Inquisition plus Goyf. Ooh, Arena of Glory, that's a good one. Unfortunately, can't haste Nether Goyf. If this card could haste Nether Goyf somehow, it would be the best card in the deck. And I think here we're going to lead with Inquisition, and then probably follow up with Goyf. Even if they have multiple Fatal Pushes in their hand, I'm just going to accept that, yeah, we trade for Fatal Push here. I just take the Drains, because Drain is a card that does help them a lot. I think I'm going to take the Drain here. We're just going to have to fight through all of this, so we're just going to keep presenting these 1 mana threats. I hope they drain this, so that way I get to resolve Amtraptor cleanly. That's my hope, at least. Oh, they're just going to let that hit the battlefield, then push it next turn? Sure. So we do need to clear that second drain before we put Amtraptor on the stack. It's a Goyf. Alright, one way to clear a drain is with Fatal Push. So, dear opponent, would you like to keep your Goyf? Would not. Dang, very disciplined by them, I will say. Yeah, super disciplined by them, wow. I don't want to play Amtraptor into this drain. I don't think there's any reason to. I'm going to fetch right now, even though it seems a little silly, just for 1 damage. My opponent can, of course, just Fatal Push this. Oh, you know what I should have done? Yeah, because if they Fatal Push this, then I would have been able to resolve Raptor, so maybe I should have shocked myself here to at least bluff, because my life total doesn't matter too much in this situation. We're going to let the Goyf die, sadly. Interesting. Yeah, I really gotta play around this drain. Ooh, another Goyf. Okay, I think I'm gonna play other Goyf and just put Loris into my hand here. There's a large lad, by the way, of 1 mana 5/6. What a magic card. And then I put Loris into my hand. And of course this gets Fatal Pushed, but we're just looking to whittle down their resources and eventually resolve multiple things in the same turn. If I can get to a point where, like, let's say I drew a 5th mana next turn and I get to play both of these cards in the same turn, it would be awesome. Because they're both most counters for my opponent, really. If not, I'll just, like, try to bolt the Bowmasters. Hopefully that baits out the counter spell. We know they have mana drain. They're probably not going to shuffle it away, if I would guess. Okay. Yeah, let's just go ahead and put, like, a bunch of cards on the board. We'll do DRC, see if it eats a mana drain. If it does, then we'll play Amtraptor. Okay, cool. We'll just pass to their turn, because I only have 1 red mana here, unfortunately. So I can't do Raptor and Bolt.
Nothing like warm tea and a fascinating story.
You have the 1 Bauble I didn't sideboard out in my graveyard, which is funny. I am pretty incentivized to kill this Bowmasters. But Tameo is such a scary card, I think I have to try to kill it. If they do flip it here with Brainstorm, we could just attack it down with DRC, so I really don't care. I'm going to keep you on top, you're very strong. My opponent's being so disciplined here. I'm going to try to haste up FOMO here, I think. I think my opponent's going to be smart. They're going to counterspell this FOMO, and that means I get to resolve the Amtraptor. There's a chance that they don't. In which case, I'll just draw discard the Amped Raptor, but I can't imagine my opponent just lets this resolve. Yeah, okay, so that's the mana drain gone, and now we can resolve Amped Raptor. We could have done that in the other order, but if we did do that in the other order, the FOMO draw discard is mandatory, which means I would have had to discard my Luris, which is not something I'm interested in doing. Okay, more Amped Raptors, sure. So we're going to get to attack for 5 here. And I think we are in a good position here. My opponent can escape this Netherglyph and get themselves a blocker, but they do need a flying blocker. They also do need an answer to Luris. They need to draw something like right now. I'm going to get looping my Bauble very soon. But what sucks about looping Bauble is I have these Amp Raptors down. Ugh, not great. They just die if I do that. So I'd like to draw land so I could play my Goyf from Graveyard. Goyf would be great. My opponent is tapped out here. Oh, yeah, while they're tapped out, I think I should kill Luris. Yeah. If I kill Luris, I get to swing for 7 here, and that puts them to the status of pretty much dead, and then the game is kind of over at that point. Yeah, GG opponent. Right, game 3 with Jund. We're going to be able to draw this time. This hand is kind of mid. I'm actually debating mulliganing this. Double Arena of Glory, 4 lands, not really doing it for me. I think this is probably fine to keep, especially if like my redraw off of Bobble hits a non-land and my Amp Trapper hits something good. This is pretty medium though, and I would consider mulliganing this sometimes. On the fence on whether or not that is worth mulliganing. My opponent is starting off with that Ocelot Pride. It's gonna be some energy gaming here. So if I knew I was against energy gaming, then I would probably mulligan. Alright, what we got here? I think I'm fine to let them play Amulet. Like I just take one of their removal spells, right? Just take the discharge because that's the more efficient one. If they want to spend their time doing Amulet stuff, that's fine by me. Oh, again, I should have bobbled before I thought seized. I don't have that habit. I gotta make that habit. Oh, Johnny, no. That's a good card. Thankfully, we draw Fatal Push here, but still, that's a good card for them to have. It's a very good card for them to have. If I draw Fetch Land here, we can hit Delirium and kind of start to solve our problems. But this is getting tough here. Okay, so here we're going to go ahead and play DRC. And then we're going to Fatal Push the Ajani, and with a little bit of Surveil luck, there's your Fetch Land. We do get Delirium, which means we can block these cats, meaning my opponent won't Snowball. Of course they can Lightning Bolt me, but we're on the road towards recovery. Next turn we get to play an Amp Traptor, which is a 2-for-1, which will hopefully start getting us back into this game. It's just tough on the draw against energy sometimes. My opponent is just on the Boros version, and they're playing Gigantha, so we should expect Fleege, we should expect Blood Moon after sideboard, which might be really tough for this deck to work with, just because we have this really ugly mana base, including Arena of Glory. The deck can't function on red mana, though, so Blood Moon is not the end of the world. Let's play our Raptor here. We need to hit a threat that impacts the board. Fantastic. Actually, best card we can hit, because we get to loot away this card we don't want. And we hit a Lightning Bolt. Okay, awesome. Probably going to want to Lightning Bolt their Ocelot Pride. You want to shock in here? I think we do. Not sure whether or not we should shock in there, but there might be a card I need to Lightning Bolt. Very tough here with us at 9 HP. Going down to at least 8 off of that amulet. Make it 7 if they hit another card off of it, right? Yeah, Static Prison. That's going to be a good one for them. Right, yep, there goes my FOMO. And let's see if they attack with everything. They do, so I'm going to go ahead and bolt the Ocelot Pride here. And then get a favorable block here. And now we can go ahead and use this mana here. We have another Arena of Glory if I decide I want haste, like on a FOMO. Ooh, big blocker. I like big boys. We can also get Bowmasters, but I think the big boy is going to serve us a lot better than Bowmasters would. Alright, now we have to win the game even though we're at 5 HP. My opponent does have energy to spend on that amulet, though not much. They do have to also spend it on prison, so if this game goes really long, it might start to favor us again. Opponent did not put Jegs into their hand. They're going to do Monumental Hedge instead. I'm not going to Thought Seize them for that reason. I'm pretty sure they have nothing, and they're just planning on using their land. I'm going to play my other Arena of Glory. I'm going to put Luris into my hand. Auto pay doesn't matter here. I'm not doing anything else. I could attack with just the Goyf. They are likely to get Chumping. Also, trade Amped Raptors here or offer to. I think I'm going to attack with the Goyf. I'm gonna leave my stuff back because I'm so likely to die. We're gonna haste up the DRC from our graveyard next turn, which is good. That's gonna be our clock. And they find Flage? No, this is so bad. It's almost over. Guide of Souls, yeah, that's gonna be the card that helps them win the game. Guide of Souls, Flage, make an energy. We know the drill by now. We do get something here, though. Yeah, they hit me. I go to 2. Oh, I don't actually have double black for Luris, I just realized. I gotta fetch for it. One sec. I got a 1. Comfy living out here. Alright, red. Actually, we'll use Arena of Glory to feed the Arena of Glory like this. Luris, it's gonna have haste. But the card I really want to have haste is this one. However, my opponent has enough cards in their graveyard to just escape the Flage next turn, so I lose. If they didn't have a first strike blocker, I could have attacked with Luris, gained some life. But that's just unfortunate. So against energy, we get to bring in all the Pyros. We get to bring in both the Hearses, because this is a Flage version. We get to bring in Haywire Might as well. I don't like discard against energy, so we're going to go ahead and bring all of it out. Against, oops, that's a Goyf. That guy stays in. There's just the question of what are we cutting for the last cut? Against other versions of energy that play Mordu, I do like to cut the baubles because it's really bad into Bowmasters. But here, I think I might just cut the Bowmasters themselves. The only good card that Bowmasters can really kill is the Ocelot Pride. Yeah, it's the only relevant hit for it. So I think we can go ahead and cut that and then run it back like this. All right. Ew. Yeah, see, this is why I think the mana base in this deck is gross. Ew. Mulligan. If one of those was a fetch land, that would have been a totally keepable mana base, unfortunately. Do we want to keep our basic? I think that seems pretty good when we are on the draw against aggro. And then let's go ahead and bobble them, just in case it changes my decision. I don't think it will. Yeah. This gets me a tiny bit more info. Let's go ahead and get Bestie mana into play. And Bestie's gonna get going. And next turn we can play FOMO. We can get rid of one of these extra lands that we don't need. And hopefully get working towards Delirium soon. They're gonna shoot my Bestie, makes sense. We're almost ready for Delirium here. I think we're just gonna go ahead and slam this FOMO. Get rid of the extra land. We won't have Delirium right away, but we will as soon as we Fatal Push something. That's another FOMO, very nice. And Raptors here. And that will get them a little Ocelot Pride. You got it. Alright. Let's go ahead and see if my opponent will just double block the FOMO for no reason. They probably won't. And in that case, I'll just play the other FOMO. Yeah, they're not going to block it. I know I could very easily have removal here. Go ahead, play our basic swamp. We have more relevant red cards we could draw. Actually, no, we could draw Bestie for green. Let's go ahead and discard draw, and then we draw a red card. That's what I got, right? I'm thinking about fatal pushing this Ocelot Pride if my opponent, yep, removes my fear of missing out, gives them attacks up, gives themselves an attack step. Sure, sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that before attacks. And now we have Delirium, which is cool. We have delirium, they have energy upkeep to pay.
I will prove my
Ooh,
worth to my pride.
Haywire might get my FOMO back. That's cool. I'm thinking about attacking with my FOMO right now, and I think the answer is no. They have a red permanent in play, they would flip their Ajani. I think we are going to sacrifice this Ajani and give myself double FOMO. Did I say sacrifice this Ajani? I meant sacrifice my Haywire Might. So of course do it at the last possible moment. I'll make them pay a little bit extra energy if I can get that little bit of advantage. Alright, and then the cat's gonna come through. We're just gonna take the damage from the cat. Actually, what we could do is we could block Sack here to absorb the damage. I might actually want to go after Fable instead. One FOMO might be enough here. Hmm. Do we want to just go after Fable instead, guys? Yeah, Fable's really strong. Let's go ahead and go after that one. My opponent needs to find another source of energy in order to keep the static prison in play, and I'm happy to tax them like that. The second FOMO doesn't do too much on the board as it stands right now. Okay, they're gonna flip a Johnny. You got it. I kind of wish I had second FOMO because they're gonna annihilate my board.
Tooth and claw I will into the fray.
All right, I will take a Pyroclasm right now. That was not Pyroclasm. Attacking with FOMO, is that going to do anything? No, it's going to trade the FOMO 1-for-1. Is that what I want to do right now? Because I don't have other options. I believe the answer to that question is yes. I'd like to reduce their board a little bit and make their Johnny a little bit less powerful. Yeah, they'll go ahead and triple block here. So I can kill two things, which is nice. We can kill both of these. I get to make some treasures, but so be it. And Bobble here. They're just drawing a land. We draw another FOMO, which is cool. So we get to, at minimum, do Lurrus Bobble next turn. If we draw land, we get to do Lurrus 1-drop. Lurrus just dies to a Johnny, though. So really what I want to draw is a Lightning Bolt. God of Souls, yeah, that's good for them.
Let fury ignite your heart.
All right, and then a Bobble? Yeah, I don't think this is going to get us there. I think we're going to FOMO and loot the Bobble. Do I really want to FOMO? I could instead just play Lurrus and then draw a bunch of cards, but my opponent will literally kill me. They have enough power in play, especially with this Ajani. So let's FOMO, loot the Bobble, and then maybe I randomly hit a card that wins the game that I can't think of. Nah. Alright, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If we hit a Pyroclasm there, it definitely would have put us back in the game. I mean, ideally, we want to hit that Pyroclasm earlier before the Ajani here he gets a chance to flip. But Energy is the tough matchup. It's the matchup we have to think about beating. I think this deck as an aggro deck is very well positioned against combo decks when compared to other decks that play creatures, like Energy over here, just because it plays so much discard in the main deck and it's very fast. But we're always going to have to get thinking about this matchup. Maybe what I was saying earlier about putting a couple more Fatal Pushes in the sideboard is true. Maybe we should start doing that. I'll think about it. All right, game 4, we're going to be on the play here. We have another Goyf Bobble hand. Not the most explosive hand I've ever had, especially with 4 lands in this deck. You generally want to just see 2 so that you can go absolutely crazy, but we'll go ahead and keep this. We are on the play in the blind, so I really do not know what we're up against. No Companion generally means unfair decks, and this Fatal Push might be bad in that case, but like you really can't tell. To start the video, we had that Samwise combo deck that did not have a Companion. That Fatal Push is very, very good against. Right, let's go ahead and do Blood Crypt, Netherglyph, and then Bauble U. Doesn't matter if we fetch or not to get this to 2 versus 3 toughness, really. It dies to both Bolt and Discharge no matter what. Chalice, oh boy. Chalice on 1 gaming. Oh, they're gonna chalice on one, and my bestie is gonna get stuck in my hand. Please let me resolve bestie at least, okay? Just don't have fast mana here for me. Okay, no fast mana, we're in the clear. Alright, Fatal Push unfortunately is gonna be useless in this matchup. Right. Tracks of Gaming, so what are we going on? Is this one of the fun show and tell variants that plays Chalice? Maybe. Chalice on 0, so that does turn off my little baubles. Not the end of the world. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch here. And then probably play out Amped after. I know there's a mischance, like if we hit another Fatal Push. That mischance is pretty small. I will take a DRC, thank you. Get our 1-drops down, allowing potential follow-up Chalice next turn. Channel? Uh-oh, we're dead. GBG? But no creature? Oh, there is a creature in the bid. We're so dead. I missed that. I wasn't paying attention when they surveilled. Damn. Alright, so we got turn 2 Ulamoged. Not much you could do there. Other than perhaps have a discard spell instead of a Fatal Push. Oh, I'm at 1. I'm not dead. Ha! I stand triumphant. Alright. So in sideboarding, we're going to want to go ahead and max out the discard. We also get to play the Hearse, which is awesome. Fatal Pushes are going to come out. Bolts are also going to come out here, even though bolts are nice 2 pressure life total. I'd rather have just more threats. I'd rather have something like Bowmasters, because they're probably a Brainstorm deck, one would assume, if they're a blue combo deck. And then we could probably play Haywire Might as the last card. You could maybe convince me to play Bolt just to have some reach, but I like Haywire Might to be able to blow up their stuff. Yeah, let's go ahead and run it like this. Alright, what we got here? Do we keep this? Just like basic Swamp and 2 discard spells? This is really sus. I think I'm going to say no. Yeah, I'm going to say no because my opponent has multiple ways to combo in their deck. I don't trust just discarding them because they could have a woodland hand that just kills me on turn 3. I need pressure plus interaction, and Unlicensed Hearse is that interaction. Also being pressure, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and play out a Stomping Ground and a Dragon's Rage Channeler here. Next turn we'll play the Hearse. Turn after we'll play another Channeler, perhaps hasting it up. What are we looking at? We're looking at a 10-drop in Exile for, if that matters, for Ulamog purposes. That's scary. Okay, cool. Bowmasters? I think we'll do Bowmasters next turn and do Hearse this turn. Because we can double haste the Bowmasters and the DRC next turn, which is pretty cool. Go ahead and fetch first so that our Surveil has meaning. First, Surveil. Ooh, Thoughtseize. Yeah, I would like to do that. In fact, I would do that over playing Bowmasters next turn. There is a chance we can hit Delirium off that? No. Well, I mean, we'd have to hit something like a artifact creature or enchantment creature specifically, something that has 2 card types, which exists in our deck, definitely. Just not too likely. Opponent will be casting Once Upon a Time. Also, non-zero chance that they go ahead and hit us with the good old Chalice right here. We should be tilting, but we have a threat and a Hearse in play. You're kidding me. No. Hopefully they just have like a Devourer to cast. Nope, that's an Ulamog. Alright. GG's. That is timeless sometimes, as they say. We can't beat this card once it's in play, unfortunately. Wow. That's going to be GG, Annihilator 10. Alright, so what do I think about this deck after a couple of games? Is it a tier deck or is it not? I think that it definitely had success in the hands of some decent players, but like we saw in this video, it's not unbeatable. It's going to lose to energy some amount of the time. We might want to tweak the deck to help with those matchups. So this is not the magical new tier 1 deck. It did hit rank 1 on day 1 of the season, but almost any deck can hit rank 1 day 1 of the season if you have a talented player playing enough And just a sample size of a couple of good players playing isn't enough to decide that something's a tier deck. However, I do think that there is something here. I think this is definitely a fun and playable deck, and this could definitely end up being like a tiered deck, not necessarily tier 1, but this could end up being something very playable. I think the core of just like Loris plus Another Goyf plus discard plus removal spells is something that will always make a good deck. And Fear of Missing Out is a very, very, very powerful card. So I think that there's a lot of potential for this shell. I think that things could be tweaked. I think that the energy matchup is the number one thing you need to think about. Unfair matchups are pretty good considering that we're playing six discard spells, sideboarding up to 8 of them. We did get rolled by Channel twice in a row, which was absolutely funny, and I'll keep that in because everybody could have a bit of bad variance here. But playing 8 discard spells gives yourself the best possible chance that you really can against that sort of a deck. But then for energy, you could of course just play more Fatal Pushes in the sideboard. You could of course also play Toxic Deluge in the sideboard, play 1 or 2 copies of that in addition to Pyroclasm. And then we would sideboard in a similar way to how Dimir Tempo sideboards in that matchup, play the control role, and go ahead and play slower. But this deck is a very explosively fast deck, especially with Arena of Glory and Fear of Missing Out. Arena of Glory does really enable some of your very, very fast goldfishes, and it is one of the things that helps the deck. I'm curious if everybody still thinks 4 is best long term. I do think it's really powerful. I'm wondering if 2 or 3 is better, but I'm going to stick with 4 for now. It has seemed really, really strong. I think we had one awkward moment in the video with a double Arena of Glory, and I needed to mulligan it, so it definitely did showcase the weaknesses of the card. But I do like the core of what is here, and I think that this main deck can continue on, and it can be like a pretty decent deck. Maybe it's your 2 or 3 deck without any changes. Not going to dethrone energy is the number 1 aggro deck, unfortunately. But like I said before, I think just like Loris deck with a lot of interaction, playing the really good aggressive threats is always a winning formula. So if you like this sort of deck, feel free to craft it. Feel free to tweak the sideboard. Feel free to come into the Discord and share your thoughts on the deck.